Hey everyone, it is great to see you on Read Through the Word today. I'm Wendy Pope and it is March 2nd. I pray that you're doing well. I pray that you're doing well today. There we go. Today, I want us to see clearly that God allows adversity to teach us to trust Him, not to cause us to turn from Him. Because a lot of the things, and this is a lesson, I feel like we need to point it out right now, because from here on out, we are going to see God allowing His children to go through lots of different things. And I've been through lots of things. You've been through lots of things. Your things that you've gone through may be just like off the charts compared to mine. And mine may be off the charts compared to someone else. So what's important here is we understand not to compare adversities, but to understand God's not allowing them. And notice that I use the word allow, because He's sovereign. Do I understand why certain things happen to certain people and keep happening to certain people? I don't. I don't understand any of that. That's above my pay grade. I don't get it. But I trust God. And I will say this. When we lean into God in the adversities of life, the troubles, the trials, the easier it is to trust Him and to lean into Him, the more adversity that we have. Because we find Him faithful and find that He is much easier. It is easier to trust Him than to turn from Him. And that we need to trust Him and not turn from Him. I loved hear what Campbell Morgan said, because it's one of those things where it is a principle that we really need to learn. There are times when God grants an unwarranted request in order that men may learn through experience the folly of their desires. God had proven Himself faithful to the people. But they weren't satisfied. They wanted more, they wanted different, and they wanted what they wanted. Trials and adversity tend to make us look at past exile from God, past slavery to the world, to our own desires, it causes us to look at those things through a rose-colored lens. Like, okay, maybe things weren't quite so bad back in Egypt. Maybe things weren't quite so bad in that relationship. Maybe things weren't quite so bad in that job, or fill in the blank. Because often when we follow, and we see here clearly, when you follow in obedience, adversity follows us sometimes, and it's caused to teach us to trust Him, not turn from Him. But there are times we turn from Him and we complain and we start looking back going, wait a minute, it wasn't so bad over there. When it was terrible over there. It was so bad over there, we wanted out. He came and rescued us. And He's teaching us to trust Him, and we just don't like His manner of teaching. They wanted something different. They actually wanted the meat. They wanted what they had back before. So He was like, fine, I'm just going to give it to you. I'm going to give you what you want. And we see clearly that this anchored God. And we may go, well, He gave it to him. Yeah, He did. And things are His to give and to take away. punishment is his to issue or to be restrained from. And I wonder, when I look at this story, is it more the people's attitude than necessarily that they're eating the quail? Scripture said this is called the graves of gluttony, graves of craving. Kibroth Hattaavah, graves of craving. They craved something more than what God was offering, but don't we see that they're actually craving more than God himself? This is their own desire. This is what they wanted. And I've been through a quail eating experience before in my life and realized, wait a minute. Hold on. This is not his desire for me. And though this is a great experience, and this is what I wanted, I want God more. And I don't really see God in this in my life the way I thought it was going to be. So I wonder if that's where God's anger was rooted, in the fact that they didn't go, thank you, you are our provider, but we want you more. Or, wow, this isn't really all that great. God is greater than this. Just some things to think about. Remember, though, this is from the Forerunner Commentary, and I really liked the way this was put. Remember, though, when God gives us what we desire and pray for, it does not necessarily mean that it's a blessing, as it is in the situation when the blessing turned out to be an instrument of death. And I want to pause there for a minute, because you know what? What we crave can take us to a grave. Maybe not a physical grave, but we can be killed by our unrestrained desires and taken to a place of death that may not be physical, but it may be emotional, financial, mental, spiritual, relational. So it can be, our desires can be an instrument of death. It is a sobering lesson to keep in the forefront of our minds. Our prayer should always be, not my will, but yours be done. God, please remember, I'm just human. I loved the last part of that. God, just remember, I'm human. Forgive me for my flesh. And just remember, I'm human. And I just put just some ways to not create craving graves in our lives. And that one is listed, of course, praying God's will, not ours, but trust him with what he gives, when he gives it, where he leads, and and when he leads. Daily die to ourselves and keep our eyes on heaven rather than the earthly things. I heard someone say years ago, we will steer where we stare. Where we stare, that's where our lives are going to be steered. So if we are staring towards heaven, our lives will be steered in that way and in that direction. But let's not die in a grave of our own craving. Unrestrained desire for the things of this earth. Take care. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.